Okay, we're back. Here we are again. Another quick video today. I've had some people asking about what is exactly involved in the process of printing files off of some of the internet sites that are like Thingiverse is the one we're going to be doing today. Some of these sites that allow users to share some of the 3D files and stuff they've made, most of which are in .stl format. It's a really simple process. I know if you're like me, at first, you get, let me pull it out here. You get an SD card with your machine, and I actually printed every single file that they gave us to start with, because I actually did it for the purposes of doing my formal review after I've had a little bit more time with the machine. I'll actually do like I say, a formal review and give my thoughts and opinions and a relatively concise description of like the experience I had assembling the kit and using the printer and all that stuff. But that's what a lot of the stuff sitting behind me is. Actually behind me, you can't see, like the dragon, the frog, all the prints you've probably seen already if you've been following anybody who uses an MK2 kit. But what we're going to do today is actually just go through the entire process of downloading a file, bringing it into the slicer that's provided with the original Prusa kits and pre-built machines, and going ahead and printing it out. So I'm just going to set this here to the side. We can actually set it on the print bed for now. I don't by any means think these are like the best files ever, but I've got a couple here that are of moderate interest to myself and I think will be good examples to use. So I'm going to go ahead and cover up my face here, and we'll begin here. So as you can see, we're already here on Thingiverse, and there are a shocking number of files on this site. So if you browse around, you'll either find something that's cool or something that you like or you need or something like that. There's everything from, oh man, like I said, it's shocking. I've seen replacement parts for dishwashing machines. I've seen things like this that are kind of just little novelty knick-knack kind of things. To Yeah, just everything. I'm into lock picking. There's pinning trays, they're called, little trays that help you organize parts when you're pulling locks apart, so you don't lose anything, and you can lay them out as you're taking them apart and stuff. But yeah, if you'll get lost on here if you spend too much time. So I've just pulled up a couple sample files that we'll go through here that I think will be good for the purposes of demonstrating how this works exactly. So here was a file. Again, I don't think this is by any means the best file ever. Most of these pages have multiple pictures, and some have what's called Thingiverse, which gives you kind of a you can see here, it just lets you kind of manipulate the file and see the actual medium quality render of it. Oh, you can even mouse wheel in. But this here is a actually not that great looking of a Skyrim logo, but it's a Skyrim logo, and it's not very big, so we'll print it out fairly small. But what you want to do is there's a blue download bar here, and we'll go ahead and download this file, and you see it'll automatically start. It kind of reminds you of some of the licensing agreements that this user has chosen to use, and you can tip the designer. And also, like guys like me, if you do print this out, it gives you an opportunity to like if you click made, it'll show users that actually printed this out. So it's kind of cool that you can share your results and thoughts on the model and stuff. Some of these look kind of rough. Some of them actually look fairly nice. Like this guy's that's actually a really clean print, given the size that these appear to be. But anyway, we'll go back here. We downloaded this file. How do we want to do this? I'll go ahead and open that up. And we'll minimize all this stuff. There's my camera control that everybody needed to see. And we'll unzip this just on the desktop for now. And we'll get this stuff out of the way. So there we have our dragon logo, right? So we'll start up our slicer. This is the slicer that comes with the Prusa machines. And what you want to do is it'll generally start you on a blank file like this, and it'll default to what either the default settings that Prusa put in or whichever settings you used last. And we're going to go ahead and click on Add. We'll go to our desktop where this file is, navigate to our folder, and there you see is a single 3D object file for the Skyrim logo. And we'll go ahead and open that. Chat's already chat's already given me some heads up. You do have to be aware that some of these files are not really complete. If you can see down here, there's a thing called manifold, which, if I'm correct, means that the file is not actually like sealed. There actually aren't faces everywhere, and there'll actually be holes in the print if you don't do anything about it. I have had files that have been like this already, but Slicer seems to auto repair them. It seems to just kind of automatically deal with that, which is kind of handy and kind of bad at the same time. Because, like me, I haven't actually been forced into dealing with repairing any files yet, so I haven't learned that. So unfortunately, I don't really have much to share on that front. But as you can see here, this is already set up for our machines. Like, this is the actual size of our print bed. So you can see that if we printed this as is, it's going to be absolutely humongous. And we don't want that. We want a quick print. If you look down here, it'll give you the dimensions. And if I'm not mistaken, our print bed is about 250 millimeters. I think it's 250 by 200 or something around there. I'll have to double check that. But what we want to do is scale this down, and we're going to really scale this down. We'll go to 10% and see what that looks like. Yeah, see, that's tiny there. We'll go a little bit bigger. Let's try 15. And you can see that's approximately 25 millimeters by about 35 millimeters, which I think will be fine for the purposes of this. But if you're using, if you haven't changed anything and you're using the filament that came with your printer, like the default PLA, you actually don't really have to do anything else in this slicer. Someone's saying 80% should fit. That's true, but we want to print this out fairly quick because I'd like to do several examples. So we're going to print this out fairly small. So what we'll do now is you can actually kind of do some exploration in here. Like, I'm not using the PLA that came with my printer, so I actually have a... I'm going to use a profile that's kind of in the middle. I guess we can go to a 0.20 millimeters, which is kind of like a normal, everyday print quality. It's not good. It's not bad. It's kind of in the middle. It's all right. It'll look okay. And then you see you have quite a few options here, and we're going to leave those all at default so you can kind of see how things work. The only thing that's not going to be default are the filament settings, because I have had to tweak these just a tiny little bit. I had to up the temperature for the PLA that I'm using here. So we'll go back to the platter, and just a really brief tour. You have the 3D tab that we're on here, which gives you like a 3D render of the file that you're going to print. You have a two-dimensional render of the file, which helps you place things on the platter, like if you're going to print multiple items, because we can actually go... there's multiple ways to do this. You can select, we'll go to the 3D view. If your item is green, it means that one's selected. If it's dark, kind of the richer green. You can hit this plus, which will allow you to create multiple copies. And also, if you have one selected, I think if you hit delete, it will delete all of them, even if you just hit the regular delete. So you have to like hit the minus sign and it'll reduce the number of copies. But you can also just go to add again. And if we add that again, it'll add another copy that we can actually manipulate independently of the first one. So we can actually add additional copies and delete this one without deleting any of the other copies, even though it's the same file. So that's kind of handy. But we'll just kind of center that on our heat bed. And what we want to do is just go to export G-code. And I have kind of a... I'm going to stick this in a folder that I've been using because I have kind of the awkward setup of not having an SD slot on my main computer here. So I'll save this G code in a folder that's shared, and you see that one actually exported already because it's not a complex file. So what I'll do now is that has been exported to the folder that's shared, and now I have to go to my crappy old laptop back here, and we'll move that onto the SD card. And this is a straightforward process. We're just literally going to drag that G-code file that we just made onto the SD card that's not in a folder or anything. So we'll navigate to where we had our file. There's our Skyrim Logo 2 file. And we'll just drag it over here and copy it onto the SD card. And it copies almost instantaneously because it's so small. And then all you have to do is insert it into your machine. And then on your menu, I don't know if we need the second cam, but I'll go ahead and throw it on here, just for the sake of clarity. And let me adjust the brightness on that. That thing does not like this LCD screen. Okay, I think that's legible enough. And what we want to do, you can see it says card inserted. We'll click our button to take us into the menu, and we'll go just like we've been doing to print your test prints already. Is print from SD, and you can see so far for me it's always been moving the latest file to the top of the list, so it's been really easy to find everything. But we'll go ahead and just click on this. And that has all our settings in it. That has our filament settings. It has all of the G-code settings, all of the infill, everything. That has like everything kind of baked into the file already. So as you can see here, this will set our temperatures. It'll start heating up the bed. It'll start heating up the hot end. You'll probably hear let me move the mic. You'll probably hear the fan kick on here in a second. And we don't really have to touch the machine anymore. We're actually kind of finished with that part of the process. Let me just make that a little smaller. But it'll take a minute here to heat up, and then it'll just start. It'll go through the 9-point calibration really quick, and then just start printing our little Skyrim logo. One of the common questions people are likely to ask, because you get used to it with the prints that are provided on the SD card, they have the estimated print time already on the file name, which is kind of handy, is that as far as I'm aware, Slicer does not have a time estimator in it. And I think one of the programs that's provided, if I'm not mistaken, the Pronterface, I could be wrong here, but I think the Pronterface program actually gives you an estimate for the print time, but Slicer does not have that feature yet. So it's like me. It doesn't really matter for most prints. Like, it's just going to take however long it takes. But hopefully this one will be relatively quick because it's not very thick and it's not very big. But what I generally do while this is heating up is go ahead and alcohol my bed fast. And we're just taking some isopropyl alcohol, and we know that's going to be in the center, so we'll just make sure that the center of our bed's clean. And then, again, you don't have to do this, but I generally watch it during the calibration because it tends to like leave a little bit of print material in some of the places where it touches for calibration. So I'm always just like standing by waiting to flick those off until the print starts, just to make sure they don't cause any problems. Like, I've actually got a bit of filament hanging off of my hot end already. See, there's a little one. And I just try to keep it from stringing across where the actual print's going to be. And it tends to do like it just did. There was a tiny little piece that came off in the back corner. And then this printer is pretty good for getting rid of any little crap you have on the hot end when it does the purge strip. But hopefully this adheres to the bed okay, because this is a pretty small print. Yeah, that is a very small print. I didn't realize how small we made that. But I guess let's shift this camera up so we can show the print actually happening. I don't know if you'll be able to see this one. It is tiny. I think it's so small that it's completely covered by the print head. But I think this is going to be a good example print for a number of reasons. I think we did make this a little too small, so we might have some adhesion issues. I could be wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised if this potentially pulls up a little bit. Because the wings and stuff are really thin pieces, and sometimes you have trouble. Like, depending on the print, you might have to put what's called a raft under it, which is just a checkbox that we can do in the program here. We'll look at that in a minute. This will be quick. This is already 20% done, so we'll just let this finish. But that's more or less all that's required to pull files off of Thingiverse. Like I said, the most complicated part of my kind of setup here is that I can't move files directly from the PC I'm on to the SD card. So I have kind of a step that's sort of unnecessary if you'd have a setup that made a little more sense. But for years, I haven't had to use any SD cards on my gaming system, so it's never been an issue. But just don't do like I did and get yourself in that rut of just printing knickknackery all the time, because it is addictive. It is addictive to knock cool little things out, because you end up giving them to people. Like, I've given tons of gifts to everybody. I hope the stream's not dead. Am I still streaming? Everything looks okay on my end. I'm always like the last guy to know if the stream goes down, unfortunately. Yeah, this'll be a nice little print. But we'll do this one. And probably one other one. I found a Nintendo logo that I thought was cool. And it actually has more than just one file in it. There's actually a lot of files in the folder, so we'll show you how to like pull multiple objects in and print them all at the same time. If anyone watches the video I did earlier today, I actually had this print bed full of different files. I think there was like 13 different files on there that printed at the same time, because they were all approximately the same size. It's this pile of stuff back here. Because these are cool. These are all little, like, sci-fi building pieces. Like little mechanical doors and vents and just all kinds of stuff that I printed all at one time. So when I woke up this morning, I was greeted with all these nifty little things. But I had the print bed completely covered. Aaron in chat asked if I intend to apply cable chains. It would be nice. I think these are... The cable wraps are about... They're acceptable. I don't know. I don't personally like them. I've never liked cable wraps. I mean, I think there's a lot of better options, but... Probably yes. Probably I will be doing cable chains at some point. And if nobody's ever seen them, cable chains are like interlocking pieces that kind of shield your cable, but they only move in one axis, essentially. And I would assume they would have to mount... Maybe you know, Aaron. I would assume they have to mount on top of your black control box back here, because they only, like I said, move in one axis. They can't flex all over the place. But no, it looks like our piece adhered okay. I'm kind of shocked. The parts that I printed overnight, they were good. Like I said, there's a couple that have tiny little, I don't know if you'd want to call them bubbles, just tiny little bumps on them, but only a few, and I think that was like a 17-hour print because I printed it at relatively low layer height. I might be able to hold that in front of this camera here. This is one. I don't know if you can see in the center of that cavity there. There's tiny little bumps, and I'm not sure. Like at this point, I should know what's wrong with that. I think that's where my my layers are starting, and it's more than likely a cooling problem, or I might 220 might be a few degrees too hot. Like I might come down to like 217 or something. But given what these are going to be for, that's absolutely fine. These are nice and smooth. They'll be fine for what I'm using them for. But all the other pieces are pretty good. Like these big pieces don't have any errors on them. Like that's not a huge piece, but it's fairly big. But it is kind of funny, like this piece is a pretty big piece, and it doesn't have any errors on it anywhere, even though it's all the same settings. So it's hard to tell what exactly that is. It might just be the slicer. It looks like we're a little over 80% here, so we'll let this print finish, and I guess while we're doing that, we can get our other file ready. So let me pour a screen back up here. I'll leave the print cam on. There we go. Okay, so we'll go ahead and delete the piece that we just printed. We'll just keep the same file open. So we'll delete that, so it'll keep all of our print settings. And we'll look at another file here on Thingiverse. So these were the Dragon Skyrim logos that we just printed. So go ahead and close that. And I wanted to print this Nintendo logo. I think this is a pretty cool little piece. I guess you could call me a Nintendo fanboy. But it's the same deal. We found a file we like. We'll just go ahead and download the file. It'll throw a zip folder on our computer. And we can open that up. This actually didn't have a folder inside. So we'll just like drag that file to our desktop. Close that out. Open our slicer back up. And we'll go to Add. And then we'll just navigate to our desktop where our Nintendo logo is. And you can see again that it's pretty big. We'll take a second here and check this logo out. We'll let the heat bed cool down a little bit. But like I was kind of expecting, that was kind of a rough file. And we printed at 0.2 millimeters, so I wasn't expecting like a high quality print, but you get how the process works. So we'll scale this down as well. We'll go to like 50%. That should be a nice size. You can see that's about 80 millimeters by 19 millimeters by 4 millimeters. And we'll print that at a little bit higher quality. Like I said, this is at 0.2 millimeter layer height, which is okay. Depending on the size of your print, this might be good enough. For some things, it probably won't be good enough. Like you can see with this Skyrim print, it's not really the best quality. So we'll go here to one that I've been using, which is kind of an in-the-middle quality setting at 0.15. Because 0.1's kind of slow and 0.2 is kind of fast but rough. I guess we can talk about some of the other settings here. Vertical shells. These are the perimeters. This is actually how many walls will be... Guess where am I at over here? Let's shift this around. Let me see if I can get my face on camera here. I feel funny talking through the screen. There you can kind of see what we're doing here. Let me shift. Let's take an example piece like this. The walls are how many outer layers it will have. So I think with these, I actually put quite a few walls on because I want these to be tough. I think these have 4 outer walls. And you can see right below that is basically the same thing for the tops and bottoms. So like on this bottom layer, I think this also has 4 stacked layers of print. And then it will start your infill. And that's what these vertical shells are, is that with your perimeter layers, it'll do that many layers and then start the infill settings, like whatever you set it for your infill here. And like some of these we'll save when I do a longer video that's like a slightly more advanced tutorial, because this is basically just to get people started trying to like experiment with some prints and stuff. But we can briefly touch on infill. A piece like this is not solid. This is actually more or less hollow. And infill is the setting that lets you decide how you would like the middle to be filled. And you can go from anything from 0, which would be absolutely hollow, meaning it would only do your perimeter layers and nothing in the middle, to 100%, which would actually print you a 100% solid piece. So you have the option to do everything in between. And then you can also kind of like set the pattern that it uses. Like we have it on honeycomb here. And if you go to your, it's called the platter tab. Let me shift this over. Get out of my way, printer. If you go to your platter tab, you can go to preview, and it'll actually show you all the layers. And you can use this slider. My slider's off the screen. You can use this blue slider here to actually go through every single layer. And you can see that in the middle of this Nintendo logo, it'll have like a honeycomb shape that fills approximately 10% of the void in the middle of this print. So this is, when you get a little more advanced, you can actually check for potential errors by using this too, as well as like going to the layer tab, and it'll actually show you the pattern that the hot end will trace to actually make your part, and you can look for potential problems and stuff. But it's pretty handy. This is by far from being the most advanced slicer, but it does have a lot of nice little features. And again, 2D view for placing your part on the platter if you're going to do a bunch of them. It kind of helps you be able to lay them out so they're not overlapping, or like if you're using rafts or anything like that, or bridges, not bridges, but make sure that none of your perimeters will overlap and cause you problems. But okay, so we have a nice little Nintendo logo here. And like we said, we're at kind of like a medium quality setting. Again, we'll leave these at default. I always like having more top layers, or not, if it's not necessarily the top of the piece that is actually going to be most visible. It seems to do better if you have more more perimeters there, because it lessens the chance that you're going to have any gaps or anything, which does happen. I have had to happen occasionally. But anyway, so we have our Nintendo logo. We'll do the same thing. We'll go ahead and export the G code. And we'll put that in our shared folder. And save it. And then we'll do the same kind of goofy procedure that we did with the other one, where I have to take my SD out of the printer, pop it in my laptop, and then just copy our folder onto our SD card. Or not our folder, but our file. You know what I mean. So there's our Nintendo logo. Drag it over, copy it. Again, it copies instantly. And then we'll pop it back in our printer and it'll be ready to go. Okay. Now before we print that, we'll go ahead and take a look at our little piece that we printed. Like I said, don't expect much. This was a really quick print. So I can tell already, I'm probably going to break this pulling it off. But there you can see, it's kind of a shitty looking little dragon because of our print settings. And we'll go ahead and try to pry this off without breaking it. We'll try not to break it. Let's see if we can get it here. I could yank it off here, but I'm pretty sure the skinny little pieces will break. Try to do it gingerly. We definitely got good adhesion. That's a plus. Let's get our perimeter off of there. There we go. I guess that's not the worst. Let me see if I can hold that still in my hand. But yeah, we have a little Skyrim kind of dragon logo. This would obviously look better if it would be a little bit bigger and we had a little bit finer print settings. But for a test print, that's not bad. I think everybody gets the idea of what we're doing here. So, cool little logo. This Nintendo logo will look better. Peter said get the hammer. I wouldn't recommend that. So we'll clean our bed off. I'm going to grab some tweezers and get a little bit of filament off the tip here before it becomes a mess. Okay, maybe I'll go ahead and set. I was going to change the settings on our Nintendo thing, but we already exported it. That's fine. It'll look okay. And we'll go ahead and pull our purge strip off. And we'll clean our bed. And same deal again. We'll just go to print from SD. And you can see it seems to always move the newest thing. It must sort by date and not alphabetically in the files there. And that's it. We selected it. It'll automatically heat up to the temperatures and stuff that we had selected already. And I did notice, I threw the piece on the floor, I think. But if you watched the one video I did earlier when we updated the firmware today, I had mentioned that it does the V2 calibration at 210 Celsius, and this filament is printing at 220. So our first layer went down a little thin. which it's not really a problem. Like, I probably should do a live Z adjust while this print goes, but we'll just leave it. It seems to be doing okay. Let's shrink that a little. Peter's, no, it wasn't Peter. Audio Origami said, I haven't cleaned the bed for weeks. It's too hard to get prints off when it's super clean. I can see that. It is kind of tough to get some of the bigger prints when they have tons of surface area. But the biggest problem with me is like, I'm eating all the time. Like, I have a bag of popcorn off off camera here that I've been eating. So I just get grease on the print bed that I'm worried about causing problems. That's why I'm always like quick with the alcohol. Aaron said, oh, okay, you're just talking about what I replaced. He was talking about me replacing the bearings, which we seem to talk about in every single video. But yeah, worthwhile upgrade if there's anybody new here. But I do want to show these off. Kind of while we have some downtime while this is printing. These are really sweet. These are pieces. This is a Gothic pipeline set from a company called Printable Scenery. And I printed these at fairly fine settings. You can see how like glossy they look because the layer height's so thin. But these actually you use with PVC pipe, and you cut pieces like this and then paint it up all nice. And this is one of the pieces that goes in the ground. And then you have like your supports and stuff. And it's for like futuristic wargaming terrain and stuff. I thought these were pretty sweet. Because I'm going to make a couple sets of these to donate to my local gaming store. To kind of get the word out that I have a 3D printer. But this was actually, you can see the difference in scale. This is actually the default scale they were at, which was a little big. So I scaled them down to 75%, and they seem damn near perfect. Someone asked if I've ever printed flexible material. No, I haven't. I haven't printed hardly anything. I should have been paying attention. We're gonna have to scrap this print. It had a glob on the print head. We'll go ahead and restart this quick. Because that's gonna be kind of ugly. You can see on the first perimeter it did, I wasn't paying attention. It actually just had kind of it had a glob that stuck to the first perimeter it did. So we'll just restart that before it gets too far. Yeah, I've heard that. Someone asked about flexible prints. I guess I didn't finish that thought. No, the only things I've printed with so far are the PLA that came with the kit, and this is the first roll of PLA that I bought myself. So that's the only experience I have so far. I've seen tons of videos of people printing with basically, I mean, almost literally every material that's on the market. Okay, there we go. This print looks good. But no, I've printed with 2 types of PLA, and that's it. The heat bed caused problems with the pin to probe. I'll have to do that. I've seen guys that have moved. Aaron pointed out that I shouldn't preheat the nozzle so close to the heat bed, because I guess that can prematurely wear the pin sensor. So we'll look at that after this print. If you go into settings, you can manually adjust all of the axes with your little knob here. So I guess it's a good idea to move the hot end away from the bed before you do your preheat. But back to my original thought. Sorry, I get scatterbrained. I've only printed with 2 types of PLA. I did sign up for MakerBox, which I'm looking forward to. That should probably come soonish, which will give me 4 types of random stuff to print with every month. So that'll be one of the ways that I get to actually explore different filaments, because I don't really have a ton of disposable income to test things with. Because I know I've been asked to try out bronze fill several times, which I'd like to do. Until I actually have something that I need to print with it, it's hard for me to justify buying a roll. I mean, as much as I hate to ask for handouts, I'm probably going to have to set up a Patreon at some point for people to just throw me donations, and I'll spend all of that on buying things like that people want to see me try on this machine. Because I'm willing to try. Like I said, I just don't have a ton of disposable income to spend on filament. Because I totally would. Just browsing the internet a tiny little bit, you quickly see that there's like hundreds and hundreds of different filaments on the market. So no, I don't have any experience with that yet. I have a habit of pulling the purge strip off while it's printing too, which probably isn't a good idea. No, I think it. Now that I've done a fair amount of prints with this, I think 220 is just a few degrees too hot. I'm starting to get the impression that maybe like 217, between 215 and maybe 18 would probably be ideal for this filament. Because like that little bit of a issue with a glob that we just had on that first attempt, I've never had that on any other prints with the orange filament. And it prints at 210. But no, we're underway. Like I said, this one will take a little bit longer, so I'll try to catch up on chat here. Aaron saying he likes color fab. Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about color fab, but I think it is, unless I'm mistaken, it's one of the more expensive filaments on the market. Peter said that bronze fill needs a metal nozzle. I'm guessing you mean like a hardened nozzle, because this does have a metal nozzle. I think I would assume brass. It looks like brass. I have seen someone mention the tungsten nozzles on Kickstarter. I have seen those. I don't think I really have a use for one at this point, but that would be cool. Especially when, like, in comparison, hardened ones are fairly cheap for the most part if you find them. Like, they'll go on sale occasionally on some of the sites. But yeah, I would like to get a harder nozzle. Mainly just to have a spare. Because it's one of those deals, I'd like to have a spare in case I do ever have, like, a jam I can't get undone or actually do damage it in some way. And if I'm going to buy a spare, I might as well buy one of the hardened ones because they're not that much more expensive. So I probably will do that in the future. Yeah, Peter suggested 205. I tried this filament at 210 and it was not extruding enough. Like, you could tell it just wasn't getting the material hot enough for it to come out smoothly. Yeah, Audio Origami said Prusa was out of stock on the hardened nozzle. They're out of stock on almost everything. I mean, there's some things they still have, but last time I checked, they were out of stock on the heat beds. They were out of stock on most things. I think it's a combination of, like, them selling things and them just needing all of the hardware they have to fulfill orders for, like, the kits and the pre-assembled machines. But I guess this is kind of boring to watch the screen there. not that watching the print's that much more exciting, but at least something's happening. Kind of get it in there. Sorry, I'm probably giving somebody motion sickness. The lighting you can see isn't ideal. I don't really have a light from that angle. And that's not much better. The hot end's in the way. But yeah, you can see the size that it's going to be. It'll be a nice little size. It's starting the honeycomb infill. Which just me, like, I wouldn't call myself a designer, but I used to work in CAD a good bit. And the honeycomb infill just makes the most sense to me. It seems like it would be the strongest. Joseph asked if I've printed any spare parts yet. No, I haven't. And it's funny because that was one of the first things I wanted to do, and I just haven't done it yet. Like, I'd like to print the little Pinda protector. That was one of the first things I wanted to print. But I guess I kind of put it off because in trying to get to the bottom of why my orange was a different color than this orange, I ultimately found out that these are ABS and that's PLA, and that's why the colors are different, because it's different filaments. But no, I will have to do that. I'd also like to. I would spin the machine, but I don't want to unplug it or do anything stupid. But in the group, I don't know if you've seen that conversation. We've been discussing the flex in that rear Y-axis motor mount, and if I do print any replacement parts, that's probably going to be one of the first things I address, because as it is. The stepper motors have 4 mounting screws on each corner. You can kind of see it on these front ones. And this rear bracket only attaches with 2 of them, and it just allows quite a bit of leverage on that back piece. And if your belt's even a little bit too tight, it'll kind of torque the motor and make it go out of square with the whole belt and everything. And I think that's some of the problems I was having when I replaced the bearings and took the belt off like an idiot. But I'd at the very least like to upgrade to one of the brackets that attaches with 3 mounting holes. And then ideally, I'd kind of like to either get someone to make a piece or to do it myself, which I'm kind of afraid to do because I'm a noob. But actually make a piece that connects with both of the threaded rods, connects with 3 bolt holes like it should, and then also has little bridge pieces that come off and brace against the threaded rod so it can't rock from side to side to get out of 90 degrees with the belt. I think that would probably be the best design given the way it's like mounted there. But I don't know when that'll happen exactly. Hopefully soonish. Yeah, there are, we were talking about the Pinda protectors. There are several designs. So I'll probably just print all 3, being that they're so small. I'll just print all 3 and see which one I happen to like the best. Peter says everything flexes on a Prusa. That's true to a certain extent, but not to an extent that I think it causes any problems. It's just like this mount back here. If your machine is set up properly and your belt has the correct tension, it doesn't actually cause a problem. It's only if you over-tension it that you can actually pull. Like, it should be at a 90 degree. Like, if these are your rear threaded rods, the belt should be at 90 degrees. And if you over-tension it, it'll just let you, like, get a little bit out. Yeah, Aaron pointed out that there are already several good designs. Yeah, there are. I think they're adequate. Like I said, I tend to overcompensate for things. So if you made a mount that was this big and just prevented any movement whatsoever, I'd probably be totally okay with that. Francis said he has a CNC machine at home. He can make metal aluminum parts. I'd like to have one of those someday. Maybe. Maybe. I'd like to be making some CNC videos in the future. Because I'm just, like I said in the other video, I'm just like a crafty kind of person. I like making stuff. I don't like other people making stuff for me. So yeah, I could totally get into some CNC action. One of the things I wanted to do, I don't know how realistic it is, but I would love to try to do a laser modification to this. Like if you could just, I mean, I can visualize it. Like if you could just more or less leave the print head intact, like the hot end, and then basically just have a laser that mounted on the side or something to do a tiny bit of like engraving or cutting or something. That would be pretty sweet. I'd like to try to experiment with that. That would be pretty nifty. Plus it would be an excuse for me to buy a relatively high-powered laser, which I don't really have. Like, the wife won't approve that purchase at this point, I don't think. She'll be afraid I'll burn the house down. Yeah, the print looks good so far. It seems to handle, like, if you saw how big the honeycombs are, they're probably... Oh, I gotta do the metric now. They're probably 3/8 of an inch. I guess that would be, what, approximately 4 or 5 millimeters. I'm terrible with conversions. But it seems to handle those bridges okay. Peter suggested mounting LEDs. I would like to. Given that I end up filming more than probably the average user does, it would be nice to have just a couple, like, lights around here to light up the whole print bed. Because I also have this in the basement, and there's quite a few times I've come down here late at night, and, you know, you just want to check on a print, and it's hard because, like, all these lights are wired together, and I hate turning them on, so it'd be nice to just be able to, like, peek down here and see the bed. But hopefully this print turns out okay. Hopefully I don't have, like, too hot of settings for my filament. Yeah, hopefully this looks okay. Looks like we have a little waviness on the, some of the bridging across the honeycomb pattern. Hopefully this next layer kind of addresses that. That's what I was talking about with the, with having more than like 2 top layers, is it will kind of like fix any of the problems like that you've had. Because now, if there's tiny imperfections in that first layer, the second layer will kind of normalize some of them out, and then the next layer will do it even more, and then with 4 layers, it'll give us a nice, even surface across the top. But like I said, I have a feeling this is a few degrees too hot for this filament. Because you can, I know you can't really see it on that camera there, but that's not a perfect layer it's putting down. Yeah, for LEDs, I'd imagine if you'd just have, like... I don't know where you'd mount them exactly. It wouldn't be that hard because they're tiny. But I could kind of picture, like, 2 on each side of this this upright here. Just shining into the print area would illuminate it pretty well. Oh, Aaron said that Thomas Sandlanderer, he was the Tom I was referring to in the other video that I couldn't remember his name. Tom Salamander recommended 4 more top and bottom layers. It really does improve the quality of the finished piece. Because like I said, every additional layer seems to just hide more and more of those imperfections that you get when you're bridging your infill. This filament is atomic filament, gunmetal gray. I can try 205, but when I tried, I was at 210 because that's the default for PLA in most of the slicer settings. And it just was not, like, the layers weren't bonding. It was just leaving, like, strings that weren't really, like, connecting to each other. And 215 seemed to help a little bit, and then when I went to 220, like I said, that's why it's kind of odd. Like, this print was at 220, and so were the smaller ones, and these are, like, perfect. You know, the only imperfections in these prints are the ones that are common to all 3D printers. It's like you can see the layers, even though it's at 0.1. But you can see, like, how silky smooth this piece is. Like, it even has, like, a skull on the side, and it's all smooth. Looks good. So, I don't know what the deal is. It looks better now. I think that was the third top layer, so it looks good. The perimeters all look good. Like, it looks like we have nice 90-degree angles from the heat bed. Our perimeters are nice and clean. Yeah, Aaron was saying that I guess most of the LED mods, they get mounted up here, which is okay, but like when you're filming, it ends up, from what I've seen, it ends up like casting a lot of shadow because they shine down across the hot end assembly. That's why to me it'd be nice to have them shining like across from the sides, maybe one or two at the top as well. Yeah, see, this final top layer here looks fine. It looks nice and flat. No, I'm excited. I wasn't planning on printing a Nintendo logo today. I'm kind of happy to have this now. Yeah, I could. People were pointing out that there's some extra power leads in the power supply that you can use for 12 volts. Well, I guess 5 volts. I guess, well, you could make it whatever you want coming out with 12. You could make it 5 if you need to, but more than likely, if I do add LEDs, I'll just leave them completely removable. Like, I'd probably just have like a 9-volt battery or something that Velcroed on the back here that I could replace and just have a little flippy switch so they're completely independent of... Like, I don't have any problems. I do know how to do electronics. I don't have any problems getting in there, but I just prefer not to. So I'd probably just do them with batteries for simplicity. Because I don't think... None of them would be, like, super high-powered or anything. But no, I think I'm going to have to... This is the Skyrim dragon that we printed first. I'm going to have to make one of my own of these files. It's a little higher poly model. Because it is fairly easy. I'm sure some of you have seen the videos for that. Angus from Maker's Muse has done quite a few of those on how to, like, pull the models out of 3D games and work a little magic on them and pull them into your slicer and be able to print them. But there's some nice, really high poly logos from the loading screens in Skyrim that would make good files for this. I could, man, because diagonally, you'd be able to make one of these that's, you know, about that tall. That'd be pretty sweet to have. That'd be a cool knick-knack. Let's check our progress here. It's funny. I don't know how it says we're at 31%, but it seems to me like we have quite a bit more of this done than that. Because we have the bulk of it printed already. All it has to do is like the embossed letters now. But hello to any of the new people in chat here, if I haven't seen you before. I just did a video today about us hitting 100 subs, and we're already kind of like blowing past that. So we're going to try to do a giveaway at 250. So if you haven't subbed yet, go ahead and sub, because we're going to be there before long here. And the leading idea so far was for me to make a little Nillabean keychain that has like a special little 250 on it to kind of commemorate the little YouTube mile mark we achieved. But if anybody has a cooler idea than that, I'm up for pretty much anything. I need to quit playing with this. I'm gonna break it. I keep flexing it. It is crazy. Like I was kind of concerned before I bought a printer, because I had seen people saying like how brittle PLA can be. But like this is a tough little piece. I'm actually... I can't... I mean, I can break it. I'm pulling on this pretty hard. And it's just kind of flexing. It doesn't want to break. So I was like pleasantly surprised how tough PLA is. I was expecting it just to like break when you look at it sideways. Let me see if I can break this. It doesn't want to break. There it went. I finally broke it. But yeah, you can see the way, as much force as I had to put on that, that has really good layer adhesion. I don't know if it's just this PLA. It might be because I'm printing it so hot. But yeah, it seems like pretty tough material. Yeah, Aaron's talking about like how many 12-volt rails this has. I don't know what format of power supply this is. I know for like computer power supplies, unfortunately 1 is the standard to have one 12-volt rail. So I don't know how many that is, or that has in it. You could pull the spec sheet up, but I don't know where the part number is on this. Or who the manufacturer is. Yeah, that's an odd shaped power supply. But I don't know if you can see. I wish you could see the print better, because I can see it like okay from this angle. Lee Johnson in chat said that these have two 12-volt rails. No, because part of the reason I haven't done a lot of things is I've only had this printer for, if you check the channel, it was exactly 2 weeks ago today that I unboxed the kit, so I'm very much a new user. Okay, we have conflicting information now. Now Aaron says that this power supply has 3 12-volt rails. Or they might not all be 12-volt, but maybe it has 3 rails. I actually don't know. I've dealt with a lot of power supplies that put out some weird voltages. My dad owns an arcade, and I've helped him do a lot of machine repair over the years, and we've seen some weird power supplies in some older games. It's like you run into that with old TVs too. Like I've seen like 95-volt power supplies, like some really weird stuff like that. There's a couple TVs that have like 82-volt power supplies in them, like older TVs. Run into some weird stuff. Yeah, there's no way that was only 30% done. Because we're like on the letters already. Now it says 54, and it looks like we're about... Like, if I had to guess, I'd say we're about 75 or 80% done. So I don't know how it calculates, like, the percentage done exactly. I don't know if it's, like, by the number of layers that are completed, or the actual, like, lines of code that are done. I don't know. Does anybody know that exactly how the machine calculates what percentage the job is done? Because I know ultimately you'd take like, how would you do it? Like your extrusion rate times like the speed times all the movements that have to be made between the coordinates, and would give you a pretty close approximation. But I don't know if that actually does all that. Peter's a hater. He likes his Ultimakers more than his Prusa. That's fine. To each their own. I've never used one, so they might be better printers. I honestly don't know. But no, I would like... because I actually have a lot of time the next 3 days to do some streaming, and I really don't know what to do. I wanted to do some infill strength tests, like print some bars out that are all the same and try them in the same material with a bunch of different infills. Because I'd like to print some parts in the future that, like one that comes to mind are the, where's my camera? Like making a gimbal for my DSLR, because this is a fairly heavy camera. Like, I don't know what it is exactly, but it's probably about 3 pounds. Maybe a hair more than that. Maybe a hair less. But things like that I don't want snapping. And I'd like to try to get away with printing it in PLA, just because I don't have any ABS. I mean, I'd reprint it in ABS if I get some, but I think I'll be able to make it strong enough in PLA. But yeah, I'd like that piece to be strong, if I can. Yeah, someone in chat said they had big problems with their Prusa. I have, like, I kind of feel bad because I have nothing but nice things to say. And I have seen some people that have problems, which is kind of inevitable. Even with, like, the nicest things on the planet. Like, there's going to be some people that just happen to have issues for whatever reason. That's why, like, anybody that I can help, I'm more than willing to try to help solve some of your problems for you. Aaron said do more upgrades. That's what I should do today. Touche. Touche. I have been saying about doing some of that stuff. But I kind of want to... Like, one of the things I'd like to do... Oh, where are they? Or, like, some of these pieces, I would like to paint them up. And I think that'd be kind of cool for some people to see. Because I would imagine some guys haven't seen any of that done before. Because I used to do a lot of painting for wargaming and stuff. Because these will have relatively simple paint jobs. Oh, they still have some support material on them. But I would like to paint some of these, and they'll be relatively simple paint jobs. Like, these will mostly be in, like iron and brass kind of colors. Like, the pipes will be gray, like a dull gray metallic. And then most of the hardware and skulls and stuff will all be like a brassy, bronze-looking weathered color. So it'd be cool to paint some of them up on stream. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. Peter says Prusa has no support. See, I've had like exactly the opposite experience. Like, support for me has been great. I know I would not be surprised if their support isn't what it normally is right now, because they're just absolutely slammed with orders. So they might it just might be a matter of them being overwhelmed. Yeah, someone asked what problems. Maybe somebody here, or I can help you here in chat if you're having issues. Like I said, I am a noob, but I have tried to expose myself to a lot of the problems that people are having and figure out what the solutions are. Looks like we're almost done. I don't know how we went from 30% to damn near done. Yeah, now it says 77. What is the sock, if you don't mind me asking? Audio Origami said he was the one that said he had problems, and he said it was mostly with the Adelinda dragon, which is this fella right here. I think this was like a 12-hour print or something like that. Because mine turned out fine. I didn't have any issues. It's actually a really clean print, too. You can see there's a tiny little bit of like that fuzzy stringing, which is totally normal. And I wanted to leave that all on here until I take my pictures, because I wanted these all to stay like just how they came off the heat bed. But no, mine came out really nice. The only thing that I thought was weird about this thing, like this is a cool looking little dragon guy, until you look at his mouth and it's like open. It's like you should stick a cigarette or something in there. I thought that was funny. He's cool as long as you don't look down his mouth. He's got like pursed lips. He's making like duck face. Kind of odd. Oh, Joseph, I had asked if anyone knew how it calculated percentage done, and I kind of guessed that. Joseph said that it just goes by the number of G-code lines, and part of the reason it's inconsistent is that all the lines aren't the same length. And I've run into that before. Some of the prints, like it's pretty common for prints to like their base layers are huge, and then like as you get up, like this is a good example. Like as you get higher, the actual like amount of print on a layer is a lot less. So I guess that's why like the percentage done isn't totally consistent. Oh, I asked what the sock was that they were talking about. It's a silicone cover that goes over the nozzle to keep it hot. I've also seen some people using that weird semi-transparent tape around their heat block that apparently like helps it retain heat a little bit better. I guess it's just like a non conductive tape that helps insulate a little bit. Because I would guess that probably does help. Because ideally you want your hot end to stay as stable as possible, and then you want as much cooling right above it as you can possibly get away with and stand the noise for. Peter makes a valid point. He was the one that said he had some problems, or no, he didn't have the problems, but he was saying that if you have a car and you have problems with it, you go to the dealership. And apparently, I guess he had contacted Prusa and they told him to use the forum. Which, to be fair, they might not mean just go talk to random users in the forum. Like, they might have technical assistance staff that address questions in the forum. Because, like I said, I've had nothing but a good experience with Prusa. And it's not because I have a channel, because most of the times I contacted them were before I was doing anything on YouTube. Oh, and yet apparently one of the advantages is the heat sock keeps the heat block clean, which I have. If the heat block's heated up and you do have any little schmutz or pieces that manage to curl up and touch it, they just kind of get like melted all over it. Because I always wondered why you'll see some pictures of not MK2 specifically, but just 3D printers in general, and you'll see people that have all kinds of shit all over their heat block, and I always wondered why that was, and now I totally understand. Yeah, I'll have to look into getting one of those socks then. Well, it looks like we're done. We'll We'll give this a couple minutes to cool off. But you can see there's a little Nintendo logo. Let me get it under there so you can see it. I'll quit moving it so it focuses. But there you see, the slicer that comes with the program is really, or the kit and stuff, is really easy to use. Unless you want to start doing some advanced things. Like I have printed some pieces that needed supports. I know this doesn't really look like it, but these little skulls, I know they're hard to see, but there's little skulls in there where underneath their jaw it cuts back a little bit, and they actually needed supports to make the print nice and clean. And same with that little bridge in the pipe there. I guess we can cover that really briefly here. But if you come in here and go to print settings and then go to support material, because this is one of the things that I didn't even have to look a tutorial up. I just was messing around with the program and figured it out pretty quick. All you have to do is click the checkbox to generate support material, and then I actually had the best results. Let's actually pull this piece that I'm talking about in here. So we'll delete that and add. This is the piece I'm actually talking about. So you can actually see it a lot better too, so that's helpful. But you can see there's a little bit of an overhang there under the teeth, and then there's a pretty big kind of bridge there where there's no material. Oh, I moved it. But if we go in and turn generate support material on and actually leave these defaults at 0, this one is just 0 by default, but if you leave this one at 0, it'll actually automatically calculate your support material. And if you go to preview, it'll show you there. That green stuff is the support material that it calculates. And some of it's unnecessary. Like these pieces here are actually unnecessary, as are these. Like if you look in that piece, there's almost no overhang there. There's really nothing there that needs supported. That prints just fine without support material. But this, for you to get like a nice 90-degree angle for this pipe and keep that section clean, it actually did help a lot to have that support material in there. You can see how it just kind of goes in there and gives it something to attach itself to. Same with these details in the skull. It really did help to have that stuff there, to just keep the details a little finer. Because it'll print okay. It'll print okay without it. But you get some like drooping, and you might get like a layer or two there that doesn't really like adhere to everything properly. But yeah, that's where your options for that are, right there in your support material. And you can also do a raft there, which I had to do with a couple pieces that were really thin. And we'll show you what that looks like. Hopefully Slicer doesn't crash. Slicer and OBS don't seem to play nicely. And now you see we have green material underneath. And that's mainly for if you have... Again, I might be able to just find the piece I'm talking about here. We'll remove this. And I think I might have... Yeah, I think I actually kind of deleted that stuff. Oh, no, here it is. This was the Venus box. I'll show you it afterwards. But like this piece here, how it has very little surface contact. If you turn a raft on for that, it actually helps quite a bit. Because you'll see here after it pops up. It actually generates a nice little broad layer underneath that... Sorry, this is kind of slow while I'm streaming too. It's normally pretty quick. There we go. You can see it's like literally a raft. it'll just print like a slightly broader area, nice and hot on the heat bed, and then print your piece on top of that so you don't really have adhesion issues. Because if you can kind of imagine this printing a layer, you basically have these two disconnected halves. Like you'll have this real thin piece, and then it'll print this thin piece and this real thin piece in here. And I was having problems with them like pulling off the heat bed without the raft. And people had suggested using like the glue stick and stuff, but with the raft, it was really easy. It was, I could have used the glue stick. I just haven't tried that yet. But I thought this was a nice solution. And then you see with the support material, like you can use a raft without the support material. Because that arch actually prints okay without that little piece in there. It doesn't hurt to have, but it does fine without it. But yeah, little skinny pieces like that, it helps to do a raft. And I don't know how much it matters. Like you could technically do like something like a stupid amount in there. Watch it crash now. But I don't know what you really gain by having like a super thick raft. There, Aaron and Joseph both said not to use a raft. Just use the glue stick. We'll check here. I'll like I haven't used a brim yet. But yeah, like I don't know why you'd ever do that, but let's try it. Let's try a brim. Cuz like I said, I still have tons of stuff to learn. So let's try it. Let's put like a 3mm brim on there and see what it looks like, just so I can learn for myself, cuz like I said, I haven't used a lot of this stuff yet. I guess their reasoning is apparently like the raft does kind of interfere with the quality of your bottom layer. And you can see exactly what a brim does here. It'll give you like the same adhesion advantages, I guess, but it won't actually mess. Like you'll still have that nice super flat bottom layer because it's directly against the heat bed, and then I guess your brim will just break off fairly easy. So that makes sense. I'll have to mess with that. And I guess Clusis, is that how you say your name? Clusis in chat says that the glue stick is better. And I can see that. Like if you don't have to have any extra shit attached to your actual print piece, you would just like completely circumvent the problem of having it not break off clean. So I will have to try that on one of my newer prints. And Peter suggested that a raft is good with ABS in particular because you can help prevent warping, which again makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So, yeah. But I thought it's worth touching on that while we had a minute. But, okay. So our bed's cooled, so we'll go ahead and pop our Nintendo logo off. And again, we'll try to ease it off here. There we go. Okay, and there you have it. Nice little Nintendo logo. Very cool. But it's not the cleanest print. Like I said, I think this is still just a little bit hot. And we do have a tiny bit of, like you can really feel it on this piece. There's a tiny bit of mushrooming on the bottom layer, which it's probably like a combination of my heat bed being a tiny bit too hot for this, and the filament being a tiny bit too hot too. And, but no, overall, this seems pretty good. I like it. I guess that very top layer could be a little bit better. But we'll try to... Because I try to be full disclosure. Like, I'm not going to blow smoke up your ass. But we do... I don't know if you can see that. Looks like there's a few holes in that top layer. So I don't know if that's like a filament setting. or if it's just that we could have had another layer or two in there. I think we might have had 3 on this and not 4. But no, like I said, it's still a learning process for me. So the big thing is to not get discouraged. Like, just keep tweaking. The bottom looks good. The bottoms always look good. The bottom's like perfectly smooth. But I don't know if you can see that. The tiny bit of flare on that, like under my, I'll put it in the center of my thumbnail. You can kind of see there's a tiny bit of flare there. So I think like I said, it's probably my heat bed a little too hot and the filament itself a little too hot. But no, overall that's nice. Like if I'd sand this up and paint it, it would look fine, which is what I'll probably end up doing with a lot of the stuff I print. I think the setting is the same in here. I guess we can double check together. Oh, we had 4, so yeah, I don't know why we had gaps. And that was at a relatively low layer height. Not super tiny, but yeah, I guess we can get some opinions. Is that what everybody thinks it is? Just too high of a print temp? Maybe I'll try lowering that and doing this print tonight. I'll set the layer height down a little bit more, lower the temp, and try to tweak my filament settings. Yeah, Aaron, I agree. Aaron pointed out that the flare can be removed with a deburr tool. Peter with the 205 again. Do you want me to do... we can drag this stream out for another couple minutes. Do you want me to do a print at 205 and we can see what happens? I'm willing to do that. And more top layers. Does it say how long this took? This was 49 minutes. I guess that was this is a little long to do again, but the infill was at 10% with the honeycomb and 3 perimeters. That's right. Yeah. But Joseph's saying that he's getting 100% coverage with 3 layers, which I agree on most things I did. That is the case. Like, all of these, oh, I turned my camera off. All of these like greeble type things I did, I had really good results with them, and it's essentially the same settings. That's why it's weird to me that I get like different results. And I guess there's one more thing I'll kind of ask chat about here. Can you see the tiny little bumps in some of the layers? Like, I assume too that's just due to being too hot. Like, I think there's only 3 in this side. It's not like I've seen people with tons of problems. We can scale it down. Yeah, if you guys don't mind streaming for a little bit longer, yeah, I can do that. Because like I said, I'm mainly here to learn as much as anybody else is. So we'll throw our Nintendo in there again. We'll scale it maybe 15%, because 10's going to be really small. You think that's big enough? That's 24 by 5 millimeters. It could be moisture. Like I said, I had intended on not printing for several days in a row, and then I ended up doing that with this, so that could be the source of that. Let's try 20% on this. And then, well, I'm at 220, and Peter's suggesting 205. Do you want me to try like 210? We can do a test print at 210. Because like I said, I seem to have been having problems with that before. It might be that the honeycomb, you could be right there, Joseph. Okay, so we'll do it at 25. I forget what we did the first time. I think like 50. Okay, and then we'll up the infill. And then let's take a look at what that infill looks like. I mean, those are, I guess that those are still fairly big voids. Do you think maybe a grid pattern's better? Joseph suggesting triangular. We can try that. Which is the triangular? Triangular, is that the rectilinear? Where is the triangle there, Aaron? How do I do that exactly? I'm fine with 20 because it really doesn't use that much material, especially on something like this. So do you think we should try like 20% grid? Because that does give us like fairly small bridges for that to cross there. Okay, is there any other settings we should tweak before I try this? Because there we have it at 210. The cooling is all on what it has been on. And then, what is our layer height? Layer height of 0.15. Oh, you have triangular and simplify 3D. Okay. That's why I can't find it. But okay, before we do this, is there any other changes people want me to make for this next print? And we'll do this last test print here, and then we'll end it. Because that is kind of ugly. I mean, if I'm being it's totally objective, that is kind of ugly on the top of those letters. Like I said, I think if I'd prime and paint this, I mean, to use rectilinear. What exactly is the difference between rectilinear and grid? I don't know. They look about the same to me. It might be different if you're on a bigger piece, maybe. Okay, so we'll try this. I'll give a couple more seconds for anybody to have any more objections before we run this test print. I'm totally fine with that. 3 perimeters. I forget what we have it on. When am I getting Simplify 3D? Soon. How much is it? Like, obviously I can go look, but just a ballpark. Oh, is it 150 bucks? Yeah, it might be a while till I make that purchase. It might be a little while. I'm certainly not a wealthy guy. I'm relatively poor. I know it doesn't look like it with all the shit in the background, but okay, we're going to go with this. We're going to go with it. So we'll go in our shared folder here. Where is it at? All right, this is our even better Nintendo logo. So we'll run this quick. I think I need to grab my power supply quick. I forgot the other day I was sick of my laptop going to sleep all the time, so I set it on full power mode even when it's on battery. But luckily this starts up pretty quick. Okay, so we'll put this on the SD card and we'll give it a go. Oh, we didn't. I don't think we exported it. Did we? I think it's reconnected to my network quick. It'll just be a second. There we go. Alrighty. And I'm gonna learn a lesson. We're gonna go to settings, move axis, and we're gonna move our Z axis up a little bit while we preheat. So we don't wear our Pinda sensor out. Okay, here we go. So we're preheating. I'll go ahead and wipe the bed off again. All right, so we're ready to go while that preheats up. Aaron asked if I'm going to make it to Juicy Moose's live stream Sunday night. That sounds kind of sexy. Who is Juicy Moose? Is he a 3D printing streamer, I guess? Peter asked how many subs I have. I think before we started this stream, I think we were up to like 130 today. And like I said, I've only been streaming for 2 weeks today. So it kind of shocks me that we've been growing this fast. Alcohol fumes. Who doesn't love alcohol fumes? Hey, we're up to 131. Woo! And we still get a little bit of oozing. Is that normal? I guess that's normal. Oh. Almost forgot to take my purge strip off. No, I'll have to check them out, Aaron. I'm like a lot of people. Like, there was a couple guys I saw at first. And I just ended up, like, watching them a lot. Because you know how YouTube is. It kind of, like... YouTube has a habit of, like, shoving the same things down your throat over and over and over again. Unless you really go out of your way to search people out. It's definitely smaller this time. Uh, no, that'd be cool, Joseph. Joseph said about doing a multi-location stream session. That'd be cool. I've been trying to reach out to some other YouTubers to participate in some of the Google Hangouts and stuff, because that would be pretty cool to me. Yeah, Joey, that's part of the reason I wanted to stream all this. Is there is a lot of information out there, but like a lot of the Prusa stuff's on the MK1s, which isn't super relevant anymore because most of those users are upgrading to the MK2 kits, or people are just buying the MK2 kits and pre-builts, outright. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Angus at Maker's Muse. If nobody in chat has checked him out yet, just search for Maker's Muse. I think I enjoy watching him most because he seems like the kind of guy that I would actually get along with really well. Like, it's great that he has good information too, but I just enjoy watching him on kind of like a personal level, so that's cool for me. Yeah, and Peter points out that YouTube has a lot of videos with people getting paid to do good reviews. Uh, like 3D printing's new to me, but there's a lot of other things that, like, I'm not part of the YouTube community, but a lot of things that I'm into that there are YouTube communities for, and that's like such a huge problem anymore. Is like people getting paid advertisements and stuff on their channels. Joe asked how much longer I'm going to stream. Basically till this is done. We'll do this print here, analyze it a little bit, try to learn something from the changes we made, and then probably call it for a day. What is it, 2:30? Yeah, we might pretty much call it for today, because I've been streaming on and off since about 10 o'clock this morning. And like I said, I have basically all day tomorrow and Thursday, so I'll be back. I don't want to overstay my welcome and everybody gets sick of me. But we'll probably mix it up a little bit tomorrow. Like I was saying, I'd like to do some painting, or something completely different. Like, I just recently got a guy in Sweden to make me a custom S-video cable for my N64, so maybe I'll stream like some tests with that and stuff. Because I'd like to... It's such a nice cable, and he was like such a nice guy about the whole process that I'd like to push some people his way if I could, as a little bit of a thank you, because he does really good stuff and his prices are really, really reasonable. Because, little side note, I don't know how many people are going to be interested, but everybody knows N64s, right? And they have the little multi-AV out plugs on the back, and almost all of them that you get go out to the regular yellow, white, red RCA plugs. And for a long time, you could buy the Nintendo brand S-Video cable that went to that little weird round connector with 4 pins in it. And a couple years ago, they quit selling those on the Nintendo store, so they're really rare now. And if you get on eBay, about the cheapest you can find one of those that's the official Nintendo brand is like 40 to 50 bucks for an S-Video cable. And I actually got hooked up with a guy in Sweden that makes custom high-quality audio-video cables, and he does N64 cables. And I was able to get one from him for like $28 that's like 50 times nicer than the official Nintendo brand one. Because you run into a problem with the cheap ones. Like, you can buy really cheap S-Video cables for 64s and Super Nintendos, but the way they wire them is kind of stupid. They actually just splice into the composite line in the yellow RCA cable and run that and split it to your chroma and stuff for the S-Video, and it gives you really bad video quality. So even though you can pick them up for $3 to $5, they're kind of shitty. So it'd be cool to stream some N64 gameplay or something tomorrow. I'd be down for that. I'm obviously always down with the Nintendo. Yeah, like Peter was saying, let's say someone sends you a 3D printer and you talk bad about it. What would happen the next time you want something from them? I would guess you've just. I guess saying you created an enemy's a little strong, but yeah, I doubt they're going to be unless they're. I say that there are companies that are completely admirable in the way they act. Like if you would give them bad reviews, there are some companies that'll go out of their way to make things right, to get you the right stuff and still treat you decent even if you give them negative reviews. But for the most part, I would think you just burnt a bridge. Oh, that's right. I had talked about it before. I also have it's called a get the right way. Retro USB is the company, and it's a system called an AVS, and it's kind of like a Nintendo clone that doesn't use emulation at all. It's all hardware. And one of the cool things you can kind of see on the box, they actually got new old stock Nintendo reset buttons that they used. Like the buttons are actually off. They're new old stock Nintendo actual reset buttons and stuff, which is kind of cool. But like I have no problem with emulation, but I'm kind of like I'm a picky bastard. And the AVS is all hardware. There's no emulation at all. And it natively puts out HDMI at 720p, and it's just absolutely perfect. Like actual perfect video quality. And it does some cool things. Like if any of you guys remember playing the Nintendo, it could only display so many sprites at one time on the screen. So like you'd get flicker. Like one of the games that's really bad is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. Like you're fighting and your guy's just like flickering invisible half the time because there's so much stuff on the screen. And like it has it has an ability to display all the sprites all the time, so that's kind of cool. But it has scan lines, all that stuff. It's pretty nifty. Yeah, I have a couple Super Famicoms around here. Which is sweet, that S-Video cable I was just talking about works on the Super Famicom. Because some of those systems, without actually modifying them, S-Video is the best signal it puts out. Okay, here we go. We got again, we'll let it cool down a little bit. I won't be impatient. But yeah. Long story short, the TLDR is maybe we'll mix it up tomorrow and do something different. Because this channel, I could do some lockpicking stuff. Maybe we'll do a lockpicking video tomorrow. Because this channel is going to be primarily 3D printing stuff, but 3D printing is not my entire life. I do have other interests, so maybe we'll explore some of those. Oh, that's right. I kind of assumed my camera was still on here. It's little, but it looks clean. It looks like there's material back here, but that's actually a scratch on my PEI sheet from. See, there's Joey. Joey's saying I always pull stuff off hot. And then it was earlier that a guy was like, never pull stuff off hot. It's always easier when it's cold. That's why it's nice to do videos that kind of settle some of these disputes. I mainly pull them off when they're kind of hot just because I'm impatient. There isn't really any rhyme or reason to it. I'll see if I can get that off with just my fingers. That's what she said. Okay, let's analyze this bad boy. Let me get my camera over here. Okay. What's funny, it kind of like we've got kind of stencil-esque letters. Like you can see the top of the E isn't connected, the N isn't connected, but I think that's just because we scaled it down so much. But it looks like our top layer is sealed nicely. And I think overall this is like a cleaner print. I know the camera's like struggling to focus there, but I think that's a nice clean print, especially given like the scale that it's at. And we don't seem to have, we do have a couple of these bubbles, but like I said, I think some of that's a little bit of moisture has crept into this because I've let it sit out too long. So as soon as I'm done here, I'll probably print some things in print some orange stuff tonight and let this sit in some desiccant for a little while. But no, I think yeah, I don't know why I was getting bad results at 210 degrees before. So maybe it was just me being impatient. Maybe I should have just tried some more stuff. Maybe 220 is like quite a bit too much heat, but no, I think that's a good print. Like I said, I think the stencil kind of effect on the letters, like you can see the top of the N isn't connected and the top and bottom of the E isn't connected. Same with the O and the D. I think that's just because we scaled it down so much. But no, for the most part, that seems pretty good. I think our inner layer, again, it's hard to see there because it's so small. But I think our inner face there is a lot smoother because we changed the infill. The gaps aren't quite as big for it to be bridging. Yeah, it's almost impossible that I'll be able to show you on this. But there are some tiny, tiny little bubbles on the side. Again, the chances of me getting the camera to focus on it are probably almost zero. Maybe you can see them on this piece. Maybe. Hello? No. The camera's not having it. But you can see, the fact that you can't see them there, they're pretty tiny. They're pretty insignificant. And it looks like it's where the layers are starting. Like it might just be like a tiny bit of over extrusion. Like what would you suggest, Peter, if you do think it's that? Actually reducing my extrusion multiplier, or would you like increase it? But no, overall, I think they're cool. They're cool little prints. And I broke the other one we did because we did have the little Skyrim print, but yeah, they're just kind of like little bubbles. They're oblong. Again, I wish I could get the camera to kind of show. You can kind of see one there. It kind of goes with the layer. It's only about a layer high. It seems to be a really common artifact that I've seen a lot of other people deal with. Do you think reducing the extrusion multiplier, like that makes sense? It looks like there's just a teeny tiny bit of over extrusion when it like starts a new layer, because I think I have the layer start set to random, and that's why they don't all line up. It'd probably be more obvious if they all lined up. 0.99. I guess that just helps that initial burst. Now I'll have to try that. Maybe I'll drop stream and print one of these a bit bigger for my own personal uses and try doing that and see if it cleans those edges up. But I think, yeah, I will do that just to check. I'll let it sit over there and run for a couple hours. But I'll do a nice big one at a slightly lower layer height, and it'll probably take an hour or two. So I won't make everyone sit through that. But I'll go ahead and change that setting in here now. I guess I can put it up just so everybody sees what we're talking about. It was the... where is that? Is that, I think it's in the filament. Is that in the filament? Extrusion multiplier right there. We'll try that. And we'll just set it to 0.99 like you said. And see if that makes a difference. It's funny that's such a subtle change, but we'll do that and then scale this up to something bigger. Let's go to like 75%. I wouldn't mind having a big old Nintendo thing. Yeah, 120 millimeters. Yeah, let's go a little bigger. Let's go to 80. Yeah, that'll be cool. I'll do that. I'll give that a try. Like I said, we'll go down to... Screw it. We'll go to 0.1. Like, that's something... I guess I'll ask there. What is, like, one of the finest... What's one of the finest settings that you guys have used for, like, a practical print? Because the farthest I've went down to is actually the 0.1 that's on some of the test files on the SD. Because that's something that's kind of new to me, too. Because I don't have any experience. Like, can you go down to... I think I've seen guys go to, like, 0.02 and some crazy things like that. Joey said 0.1 is the lowest he goes. That seems to be like the low end of the practical range for me. Peter, have you actually printed things at 0.02? Does it take like 4 days to print something? Like what kind of, just out of curiosity, what kind of things were you guys printing at that low of a layer height? Like sculptures and stuff, or was it... Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think this guy was printed at 0.1. I think that's the default for the file that they send you. And this just seems like fine enough for me. Because the layer height is, it seems low enough that, like if you'd prime this and paint it or something, which again, I'm going to be doing with most of the things I print, that I would imagine most of these are not going to be visible anymore. As far as layer lines and stuff. Oh, I want to break this guy's wings so bad. I don't know why. I just want to snap him in half. But yeah, I won't break him. I need to take some final shots for like my review and stuff for this machine before I do it. Maybe I'll break him then. Because I wouldn't mind giving him... I wouldn't mind sending him to somebody. Shipping might suck on it, but... But yeah, if somebody would want him, maybe I'll give that away. It's a shame he's in orange. He'd be cooler if he was in gray, but I'm not printing him again. That took forever. All right, I'll see Peter's print here, and then we'll probably cut it for today. I have a couple things I got to do before I have to pick my daughter up. Yeah, it won't let you send links. People get them through if you... There's a couple things you can do to actually get them to show up. They won't be like actual functional links, but it's enough that people can figure out what you're saying. But maybe if you're in the original Prusa group, put a post in there and share it with everyone. We can see it in there. Because I'll have to... That's one of the nice things. It'll be nice to have Twitter. I need to set that up. So when I have Twitter set up, that'll make it easier. Because you can just like hashtag things and I can pull it up and show everybody. But at any rate, I'm lingering. I'm turning into a lingerer here. So thanks everybody that came. Hopefully I helped somebody out with just the basic process of pulling files in. I know we kind of got sidetracked with trying to get work out some problems in some prints, but yeah, hopefully that helps somebody, because I have had quite a few people ask like what the basic procedure is for printing files off of some of these these sites where you can go find files that other people have made. Yeah, Joey, Twitter would be nice. Maybe I'll make sure I have that set up for tomorrow. I think, unless I'm mistaken, I think I do have Nillabean on Twitter. But I don't think I've used it in a long time. Yeah, I think I do. I am Nillabean on Twitter. I had used it a tiny little bit I haven't shared that with you guys yet, our podcast. But I do a podcast with a friend of mine, and especially this last episode, that's definitely a side of me that no one has seen on this channel yet. The first couple minutes are talking about shaving personal areas. It's kind of funny, because I'm like a full disclosure kind of guy. Like, I'm not afraid to share anything if people ask. So we ended up talking about that for a little while. Our experiences shaving sensitive areas over the years. But yeah, I'll leave it here. We'll save that for another day. There's plenty of time in the future. So again, thanks for everybody for stopping by. If there's anybody here that's not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. 130 plus other people have decided to do that. You can join the fun. And like I said, when we get up to about maybe 200, 250, we'll do a giveaway of some kind. Like I said, I already have plans for if we do hit 1,000. When we hit 1,000, I'm gonna hook some people up with some stuff, because that'll be amazing if we hit 1,000 subs. I don't know 1,000 people. There's not, well, there are 1,000 people in the town I live in, but not a whole lot more than that. So 1,000's a hell of a lot of people to me. 130 is a hell of a lot of people to me. That's more people than I know personally. So that still blows my mind. Let me... See, I guess my Twitter... I guess people will know the podcast if I cast this. But yeah, this is kind of a dead Twitter, but I'll get it cleaned up. If anybody wants to check it out, I'll get it cleaned up in the future here in the next day or two and start actually using it. But yeah, maybe we can, like some of you guys, like Joe, you've been around for a little while. Some of you other guys have been following me basically since day one, more or less. So yeah, maybe we'll do a hangout, because obviously some of you guys know quite a bit more about 3D printing than I do. So I don't want it to seem like I'm some authority figure here when I'm just like some guy that's new to everything, just like a lot of people are. So that's not how I'm trying to come across here. I'm just trying to be helpful and maybe entertain some people in the process. But yeah, thanks everybody. We're gonna cut it here. Like I said, I'll print another one of these Nintendo things out with kind of the settings we messed with here, and probably tomorrow when I start streaming, I'll share that. So if anybody's curious what the results end up being for a big old Nintendo thing, maybe I'll print it full size. Maybe I'll do that and let it print all night. We'll see how big a one I can fit on the heat bed here. But yeah, losing my voice. I'm gonna go. So we'll see y'all later. Thanks for stopping by, and have a great one.